This documentary will be utilising a case study of a young person to which psychological and sociological theories will be applied to explain the potential ways in which the young person of focus will experience adolescence. Following this, there will be a discussion regarding potential stereotyping and discrimination that this young person could face. Finally, a description shall be provided surrounding the effects that living in a globalised world may have on this young person, and the potential models of engagement that may be appropriate for them and their circumstances. The case study of focus will be centred around a 15-year-old male of Black British ethnicity living in a working-class neighbourhood in a deprived area of London. They attend a mainstream school and are currently achieving slightly below average within their educational attainment and often reprimanded for poor behaviour. There are multiple theories that can explain various outlooks on a young person's experience of adolescence, the first of which is Piaget's 1936 theory of cognitive development. Within Piaget's theory, he categorized the later stage that develops between 11 to 15 years old as the formal operational stage, which encompasses abstract thinking. This stage of cognitive development is experienced by adolescents and is explained by Ahmed et al. 2016 as the time period where young people use this reasoning to think about how their reality compares to their ideals, think hypothetically about different choices and their consequences, and critique the reasoning of others. Regarding this young person, entering the formal operation stage may change their experience of adolescence in a number of ways, including the friendships they make. By comparing the relationships they make with peers to the ideals they hold about these relationships can make or break specific friendships, potentially altering their experience of adolescence dependent on who they choose to share the experience with. Their perception of world issues and problems. By critiquing the reasoning of others, this young person will develop their own views on specific world issues which can alter the way they experience their youth. And their place in society. By thinking hypothetically about different choices and their consequences can influence how this young person views their place in society by the decisions they do make based on this hypothetical reasoning, thus altering their experience of adolescence. Other theories to consider that can influence a person's experience of adolescence is the work of Albert Bandura and Margaret Mead. In 1971, Bandura published his social learning theory, in which he concluded that people learn from concrete experiences and witnessing modelled behaviour. Margaret Mead's 1928 work can be linked to this idea, as she proposed that a person's culture and social environment shapes how they experience the world. Consequently, for this young person, their working class culture and living in a deprived social environment could alter their experience of adolescence, as others living in the same social environment and sharing the same culture may model negative behaviours such as drinking, smoking, substance abuse, and other antisocial behaviours, which this young person may be influenced into participating in as a consequence of the effects of social learning theory. In a study by Kao 2000, stereotypes regarding different ethnicities and preconceptions surrounding their educational attainment were investigated. Regarding adolescents of Black ethnicity, Kao concluded that a common stereotype is that they are perceived as less successful in academic endeavours. Consequently, they argue that adolescents define their goals primarily in terms of the stereotypical images attached to their ethnic group. However, for the young person of focus, if they are faced with this stereotype, this could be a contributing factor in their low educational attainment, as it may cause their self-esteem to lower or alter how they perceive themselves within society and what they are able to achieve. According to Burt et al. 2012, racial discrimination is positively associated with increased crime by augmenting depression, hostile views of relationships, and disengagement from conventional norms, and profoundly affects the life chances and routine situations of everyday life for racial minorities. Therefore, due to this young person being of Black British ethnicity, they have the potential to face racism or racial discrimination across various aspects of their life. Consequently, it is important to be mindful that experiencing this can change the way they experience adolescence, as it may hinder the amount of opportunities accessible to them, may affect their self-esteem and sense of identity, or cause them to rebel and engage in antisocial behaviour. Giddens 2009 explains factors that contribute to globalization, with the main focus being enhanced and more complex forms of technology, which have intensified the speed and scope of interaction between people all over the world. Also, according to Larson 2002, there is every reason to believe that population growth, globalization, new technologies, and other fast-moving changes will reconstruct the concept of adolescence again in many forms. Davies and Anon 2013 have researched the positive effects that this type of globalization and access to technology can have on a young person's experience of adolescence, with these positive impacts being concluded as facilitating or supporting particular transitions in a young person's life, offering different types of social engagement with the wider world, and creating new ways of learning and access to wider information regarding social, political, and other world issues outside of the knowledge and opinions of their immediate social groups. On the other hand, increased globalization and use of advanced technologies can also hold a variety of negative implications regarding how young people experience adolescence, with the main focus being the increased use of social media outlets. For example, in a review of literature undertaken by Best et al. 2014, harmful effects of these factors on adolescents include the potential for, but are not limited to, the increased exposure to harm, such as online grooming, increased risk of experiencing cyberbullying from peers, and the potential for the development of mental illnesses such as depression or anxiety that can be attributable to the previous two factors. Therefore, for the young person of focus, having access to this information and these opportunities through the use of technology can be both positive in allowing them to form their own opinions surrounding world issues, and negative by exposing them to the risk of online grooming or cyberbullying, which they would have been unlikely to experience if they were an adolescent 10 to 20 years prior. Mason 2015 explains that the general function of youth work is to develop voluntary and formal relationships with young people that are conducive to the provision of opportunities and support that aid positive social development. A pivotal core principle within youth work is empowerment, which includes respecting the service user's wishes and values, engaging in non-discriminatory practice, and valuing equality and diversity at the forefront of all work undertaken with adolescents. Wallerstein and Bernstein 1994 define empowerment as a social action process that promotes participation of people, organizations, and communities in gaining control over their lives in their community and large society. As a result, when forming these relationships with young people, it is essential that practitioners are mindful of their own behaviors, opinions, and values to ensure that the young person of focus is not being disempowered and their voice is heard to enable the most effective support and provision to be put in place for them. Hope et al. 2011 argues that youth participation has a vital role to play in enhancing the well-being of young people, and that social policy measures designed to address the decline in young people's social well-being will be more successful if created in response to wants and needs expressed by young people themselves. In correlation with this idea, Cooper 2010 states that allowing young people to engage in participatory techniques will allow the full socio-cultural context shaping their expectations, life chances, and experiences, allow them to identify possibilities for change, and allows them to develop the capacity to take part in collective action in pursuance of such social transformation. Therefore, regarding the young person of focus, by utilizing a participation model of engagement, this will help provide them with more opportunities to succeed, of which originally they may have been lacking due to their social class or ethnic background, and decide which direction of a positive nature that they want their life to take regardless of these potential limitations, thus empowering them to do so.